Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
Mike Hammond of Shawano is a Libertarian candidate in the 6th Assembly District. Mike, thanks for coming to Wisconsin Eye.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Your campaign website says you want to slow, reduce, or eliminate state spending that doesn't fit, that is not for essential government services.
Right.
What would you consider spending that is not essential government services, sir?
I think the Department of Tourism could be eliminated. They do good things, but I think it could be done privately. The WEDC I don't think is necessary. I think they're overstepping what they were originally intended to do. There's other programs that could be, the payments could be changed, social programs, time limits put on, graduated payments. You only spend so much time at a payment level. You either improve your own situation or you're off the program.
Okay.
That's basically a good starting point. I'm sure there's plenty more once you get digging.
Well, you're running as a Libertarian.
Yes.
What's the problem with Republican and Democratic leadership in Madison?
Republicans have just gone away from my way of thinking. They've gotten to be big spenders, just like what the Democrats have been. They spend on different things. More toward the business end of things, the subsidies, tax breaks, and stuff like that. But I think they're overdoing it the same way the Democrats overdo the social programs some. I think everything needs to be reined in a little bit.
Would you have voted for either the Foxconn tax breaks or the Kimberly-Clark tax breaks?
No, I would have not.
Why?
I don't think they're necessary. A business should be able to survive on its own. I think it would have been a better alternative to lower tax rates across the board for all businesses and individuals. Make the atmosphere in the state better overall for businesses that are already here, as well as businesses coming in, rather than just doing the carrot and the stick, trying to draw big business in.
How well do you think state government is financing our K-12 public schools? Do you think we need another big increase in state aid in the next state budget?
Not a big increase, although I think education is one area I would spend more on, transportation being the other.
Okay.
I don't see, though, increasing taxes to do it. I think you have to cut spending elsewhere and then channel that money towards education. I would be for that. I'm in favor of a statewide school choice program, not the current program we have. I think there's
not the current one?
No, not the current one. I think there's a lot of problems with that. But I think it could be molded in to a program that would satisfy a lot of the people that don't like the state program that we have now. Uniform standards for all the schools and students. Income level restrictions, so the people that really don't need the help don't get it.
Okay.
Things like that. I think there's a lot of room for compromise, and there doesn't seem to be any compromise from either side right now. The Democrats want to eliminate it altogether, and the Republicans want to keep on expanding the current system. I think there's a lot of room in the middle.
The Green Bay prison was built in the 1800s. The Waupun prison was built in the 1800s. There's a big debate. Do we need a new state prison? How do you feel?
I don't think we need a new prison, especially for expansion purposes, but there does probably need to be some modernizing done, and sometimes the best way to modernize is build new. I'm not an expert at all in the corrections field. In fact, it's probably one of my weakest points, but I don't think we need to build as far as overcrowding. I think there's other ways of handling the overcrowding issue.
The state's spending $100 million in school safety grants. Is that enough, or do we need to change gun laws, Mr. Hammond?
I think it's enough. I don't like the way it was done, though. I think that should have been more local control, keep the money locally. I don't think sending $100 million to Madison, running it through an office across a desk and having one or two people decide where it goes and what strings are attached when they send it back was the way to go. I think there was things that could have been done to eliminate some of the roadblocks that schools do have now if they want to put their armed guards in, more school officers, leave it up to the individual school systems. I don't think all of the school systems in the state have problems with security, and I don't think the ones that don't have problems should be funding the ones that do have problems.
What's your position on legalizing both recreational and medical marijuana?
Marijuana, legalizing the medical end of it should have been done already. It should already be legal. I know a lot of people it would help. Recreationally, I'm open to it, but I have a couple of issues. Mainly the quick, reliable testing in the workplace and on the highway. I've heard the testing has improved and would be similar to alcohol testing, but I haven't seen that. If that could be addressed, I would be open to it.
Elected officials in the Capitol cannot agree on how we pay for our highways and bridges in the future. How would you pay for them?
Like I said with education, first I'd look to cut spending elsewhere and then channel some of those funds to transportation or reduce taxes elsewhere and raise taxes, either the fuel tax, license fees, but keep it segregated for transportation uses.
So you'd be willing to consider a gas tax or the vehicle registration fee increase?
I would if there was a likewise tax lowering somewhere else, either income tax, sales tax, whatever. But
when tolling is brought up in the Capitol, your position?
Yes and no. I think modern technology makes it possible that you could do it without a lot of overhead, a lot of major construction. If it could be done that way, I would be in favor of it.
Local governments have been living with levy limits for 14 years to control property taxes. Some local officials say this hurts their ability to provide local services. Do we keep levy limits, loosen them, or get rid of them?
I think you get rid of them and let the local control over what they spend, what they think they can spend, how they finance it. I think it should be much more locally controlled. Even if it's done by referendum, which, I mean, that's one way around some of the levy limits. Now I believe you can do a referendum to exceed limits. The referendums, sometimes they go 3-4 times and don't get passed, and then you hit the right election where they're midterm or something where not a lot of people vote, and they slide them through that way. I think that process doesn't need to be that complicated. I think it should be more in the hands of local school boards and local county boards, town boards, and whatever to handle their own spending.
Healthcare in rural areas, like you're from Shawano. How can we preserve and protect healthcare in rural areas of Wisconsin?
Well, being in a rural area is always going to be somewhat of a detriment just because of the lack of people. It's like anything else. The population centers get serviced first. It doesn't matter whether it's healthcare, television, cable TV, satellite, broadband, whatever. I don't think you're ever going to overcome that. I think it's up to the local municipalities and communities or whatever to do what they can to try to draw, doctors and hospital services and stuff to their areas. I know in our area over the years there's been several small community hospitals that have closed. One thing there, it's not as big an inconvenience as it used to be to go to Green Bay or Wausau or whatever. The travel is much easier, much quicker. Yeah. It is a problem for some of the elderly and an inconvenience, but I don't really think the government has a big role in making sure that there's hospital per se in any certain area.
State government and Delta Dental have a pilot program that provides dental care for the low income in some regions of Wisconsin. you may or may not be familiar with that program.
No,
My
I'm
question, you're not. So you can't say whether that should remain a priority
No,
just because you don't.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, I understand. Last question. Differences between you and the R&Ds that are all on the ballot on November 6th.
I was thinking of that on the way over here. I think one advantage I might have is I consider myself a creative thinker. I look outside the box. I have the ability to get people to look at things from my perspective or other perspectives through good conversation. I don't necessarily change their mind, but I can get them to think. I think that's something that there doesn't seem to be much going on in our government right now. It's defend your own position and forget everybody else. And I think I could be a good communicator.
Thank you. Mike Hammond of Shawano is a Libertarian candidate in the 6th Assembly District. The election is November 6th. Mike, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.